What's the most unusual job or way that you've earned money? For myself, I've never actually had an unusual job. However, as somebody who has always tried to make extra income and at times like really needed to make extra income, there have been some ways I've earned money that is a bit unusual. When I was a freshman in college, I was a biology major and I was taking general chemistry, and somehow I found out about, I think it was like notetaker.com or something like that. And I don't know if they reached out to me or if I was trying to find ways to make extra money, but basically you would write notes, take notes in class or create study guides for exams, and then you post them for sale and people would buy them. Now, I did not expect anybody to buy my notes or buy my study guides, but people did. And looking back, what I did was kind of wrong. So I had the exams from the previous year. So I think my roommate had the exams from the year prior. And so I took those questions and kind of messed with them a little bit. So they were a little bit different than what was on the actual old exams. And that's what I incorporated into the study guides. And I think people were paying like $5 per study guide. And these were big classes that I was in. It was like maybe 200 people. So that semester I made, I don't know, at least a couple $100, maybe a few $100 from selling study guides and my notes. And I remember after the first exam, people were reaching out to me like, hey, are you going to do this again? Because that was so helpful for the first exam. The other way that I've made quite a bit of extra income over the last few years is by participating in research studies. Now, I absolutely will not participate in anything invasive. I'm not going to be taking any medication. Nothing's going to be injected into me. There was a time where I actually considered that. I think I had applied for some. This was when I was like deep into debt, and those can be problematic. The people in certain situations or who are just struggling financially like I was may get desperate and then expose themselves to things that could potentially be harmful. And, you know, that is a whole issue in and of itself. I never did that, though. I did participate in research studies that measured my brain activity, though. So there was like a cap on my head, non-invasive, again. So it was just sitting on there and like somehow it was measuring brain activity. I actually don't know what these studies were used for, but literally I would just watch a TV, stare at a TV, I couldn't move, and then I had to push a button when certain things popped up on the screen. So it would be like, if you see a red dot on the screen, tap the enter button, or if you see a green frog on the screen. So it just depended. They would tell you what to push the button for. That is a study I participated in many times, actually. They did it for several years. I should look into that and see what they were actually doing with it. But each time it was like, I want to say at least $100, sometimes 120 for like an hour of my time. More recently, I participated in a study that involved an electronic. I don't think I can give the specifics of it, but basically it was like a watch. It was a thing that you wear and it could see your hand movements. It was actually really cool. It took quite some time, but they paid me, I think, $150. I actually kind of enjoyed it. So again, non-invasive. It was just a little like wristband that we had on, and it was following our hand movements. So if you wanted to like swipe left, you would do these like movements with your finger. It was like using a phone but on your hands, and it was following that movement. It was crazy. You could even write on your hand, on the palm of your hand, write on your pants, write on the desk, and it could tell what you were writing. Wasn't perfect, but it was damn near close. It was fascinating. And that was just a few months ago, actually. So I still get notifications for random research studies that pop up and that I qualify for. And I do still participate in them. One, because I think it's cool to be a part of a study like that. And hey, I'll take an extra $150. I also meal prepped for somebody. I think I've talked about this before in like my side hustle TikTok Tuesday video. And it was just a few weeks, but I always meal prep. And one of the nurse practitioners at the urgent care that I worked at, she was like, hey, can you just add on 3 extra meals to your meal prep and I'll pay you $10 for each meal. So I did that for a few weeks and I was like, okay, easy peasy for me. That didn't last long. And it's obviously not something like you have to have like a food restaurant license. I don't know, but she didn't care. The topic of unusual careers specifically has been suggested as a TikTok Tuesday topic, as well as side hustles in general. We have already done that. And a few weeks ago, Michaela Michaela B, through LinkedIn, she sent me a video and mentioned like, hey, this might be a good idea to include in one of your TikTok Tuesday videos. And it was an unusual job, at least to me. So I'm going to start with that one because I did find it on TikTok as well. And then we'll go through what else I found. So all I searched on TikTok, aside from this first one that I'm going to show y'all because this was sent to me by Michaela, we'll watch that. And then on TikTok, I searched unusual jobs, and we'll see what the possibilities are. So this first one was sent to me by Michaela.
Minutes and we made 1,028 in 45 minutes, and you still think you need your 9 to 5.
We started at 8 a.m. First job, $308 for 15 minutes of work.
Second job, easy pickup, another 165 in the back.
Job 3 took us 25 minutes, $561 payout.
Wrapped up with some lunch, done by noon.
That's 1,028 before most people even hit lunch.
No clocking in, no asking for time off.
Just solving problems and stacking cash.
The millionaire path doesn't start in a cubicle.
I'm going to have all of these TikTok users in the description box. They're going to be in order. This is JT Junk Solutions though, and they have quite a few videos that are similar to this. And I think this is really cool and sounds like a great idea. But what they're not saying, because they don't need to, this is just a video that they're showing what they made in the day, but there is so much that goes into the back end of picking up junk. You know, you need to have, one, you need to be in a location where this comes up pretty often. You also need some sort of truck, something to pick up the junk. And then you probably are spending quite a bit on marketing, or at least doing a lot of outreach, because what I would think is that the general consumer who's like, hey, I have a whole bunch of junk, somebody come pick it up, they're going to call like, isn't there like 1-800-JUNK or something like that? 1-800-BUY-JUNK. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot larger brands out there that have these different franchises and such. So a lot of people first would go to them, I would assume. So for this, I think it would take quite a bit of time to build up. The other thing is that the money that they're earning, they are probably spending a lot as well. So the junk, yeah, you're going to pick it up, but then you have to dispose of that junk, and that's going to typically cost money. So there are places that you can take junk, and some things are free, but otherwise you'd have to pay for them, especially if it's like electronics or really large things. That's an expense, as well as the gas. And I think this can be a lucrative thing to go after, but there's like a lot to learn within it. I don't think this is something I would be comfortable doing because I personally just don't want to touch other people's junk. Like, you just never know what's on it. I don't want to touch any like poop or pee from cats or from humans, whatever it may be. There's obviously going to be like a lot of dust that you're dealing with, or like really dirty things, bugs. I just would not be interested in doing this. I think it sounds nice, but could I imagine myself doing this? No, probably not. Also, you have to be able to lift things, heavy things, and then, yeah, have the space to lug it around. I think this can be a great business though. And then for them to be on TikTok and YouTube creating content, which I think if you're the owner of a small business, like you're a landscaper, a pool cleaner, anything service-based like this, to be creating content on top of that, I think is just like a must. It's a requirement, and that's going to help you to grow, but you're also going to get monetized, and you can have affiliate sales, you can get sponsorships, like all these different things, and it's just more bang for your buck, you know? So this is really cool, and if you're interested, I would look into it and learn, because it's probably going to cost more than you think. But I'm absolutely here for it. And now we're hopping to my TikTok search, and we'll see. I see some of these, a lot of them are from this year, but also some older ones. If I think they're too old, then I'll skip over them. But I see lots of 2024, and I think they're still relevant. So let's go for it.
At this point, we are all aware that a 9-to-5 job is not all that it's cracked up to be, so here are 5 of the most unique jobs that I have had. Starting off number 1 with getting paid to sleep. I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating. I literally took part in a 16-day live-in sleep study where they tracked my brainwaves while I slept. I got paid 2,500 Australian dollars for 16 days. I wish I was making this one up, but this is the one that paid me the most money. I don't need to show you a visual of what that looked like, but basically I was a live-in care provider, and I would get paid 24 hours of the day. I would make meals, I would make sure that they had taken their medication, all of those things. But I was still technically on call at night. So if he had like fallen or something like that. So I was getting paid so much money. I know driving Amazon Flex isn't super unique, but I did it in 2018, and that's kind of when the program had just come out. And so it was so lit at the time. The regulations were very low, and I could get 3-hour blocks and get paid like $100. I am truly not kidding. I got paid more doing Amazon Flex than I did at my 9 to 5 ever. If you're really thinking about the concept of nannying, it is unique, okay? You're staying in somebody else's house, taking care of somebody else's children, and they're going to a job to make money to then pay you to do your job to take care of their kids. It is insane. Living in strangers' houses, I got paid to house sit, and I also volunteered and did house sitting for free accommodation. House sitting is truly what got me through my 3 years of travel, because accommodation is so expensive, and if you can reduce that, then you're saving so much money. And last one is boring. I just made videos for other people.
All right, so I need to see the list again. Hold on. Paid to sleep, that's going to be hard to find, but yeah, those studies are out there. I do want to reiterate, please be careful, and I would suggest avoiding anything that's invasive or you have to take medication unless you are, completely aware of the risks that come with that. Cleaning bedpans, so I don't know, I think it's going to vary by state or even city. Like if you need some sort of certification or qualification to be a caretaker, I would hope so. Like I wouldn't want just some random person giving drugs to somebody who's not able to care for themselves. And I think that this could get dangerous otherwise. But yeah, if you're okay with doing that, I'm sure that's out there. Amazon Flex, I still see people doing this like in my neighborhood. They come so early in the morning too. It's like 3 a.m. and we get a package delivered. And I think it's just Amazon Flex drivers. But I see in the comments that it used to be good, like she was saying, and now it's not great money. Nannying, I think nannying is like one of the best things you could do if you like children, or even if you don't like children like that. It's just people will pay. And this is going to depend where you live as well, but it's such a necessary thing. And I would imagine that there are many parents out there who don't want to put their children into daycare just yet. And so they want somebody to come to their house and, watch their young children while they're at work. I remember seeing, I think it was honestly like CNBC, who made a video of a woman who was a full-time like live-in nanny. So she didn't have to pay for any of her food or her rent. She lived with the family. So very interesting. Same with living in strangers' houses. That's a way to travel. There's websites for this. I forget what they're called, but you can find places to visit where it's kind of like a house swap. Not even, like they just may be leaving town and they need somebody to watch their house, so you can go and stay. And oftentimes they may have like animals for you to care for as well, but it's a way to stay for free in the country and can be really lucrative. And of course, there's also options to get paid for it. Some good ones there. Let's see what else.
Most people do not know that this occupation exists. Let's talk about weird occupations. And in fact, I always found myself having to explain to everyone exactly what I did for a living. So I was a fit model for years. I say fit model, which is not to be confused with fitness model. You don't have to be fit to be a fit model, but you do have to have the perfect size 10 measurements. Generally, fit models are a size 10. There's also size 14 ones. There's some size 8 ones, and they used to come in occasionally to work. But size 10 fit models get regular work. So what is a fit model? Now, you might not know this, but every single brand, Country Road, Seed, DeCuba, Portman's, Jackie E, Just Jeans, they have a model that they fit all of their garments on multiple times, sometimes up to 8 times for one garment, until they get it perfect. So as a fit model, you don't have to look like a model. You do not have to be a model. You just have to have the perfect size 10 measurements for that brand. Now that can differ from brand to brand. Now, the positives of being a fit model is it is a minimum of $100 per hour. So you can easily make $2,500 a week, but this is where you've got to work out if the money is worth it. Okay, so brands vary. I was a fit model for a more mature brand, and they used to fit their clothes quite off my body. So it didn't matter so much if I put on a couple of kilos. Some of the benefits of the job is that it's very easy and you are literally getting paid $100+ per hour to stand in one spot, and you can be standing for up to 10 hours a day. I was for many, many years. You could be trying on anywhere up to maybe 70 garments per day. It can be boring, but if the fashion buyers and the QA techs are nice, you will become friends with them and you can have a laugh. It's a no-brainer job, so you go home after work, you don't have to think about work anymore. You don't have to look good. I obviously wanted to look presentable and I wanted to make sure that the garments looked the best they could. So I would put some makeup on and do my hair, but you do not have to be a model and you certainly don't have to have a certain look. You just have to have certain measurements and be in proportion.
This is a 5-minute video, so I'm going to pause it there and we'll stop it there. Very interesting. I have never heard of a fit model. And from so she's Australian. I didn't recognize any of those brands that she mentioned. And I'm assuming, is this in the States? I don't know. And I also think the size 10 in Australia is different than size 10 in the States, but I could be wrong. I did see in the comments, somebody said, well, I don't know who the size 4-6 models are, but I'm always swimming in clothing. And she responded that they don't have them. They have just size 10 and they size down 5 centimeters for each size, which is fascinating. That makes sense. No wonder clothes don't fit properly. I wonder how you even go about finding this out. And maybe she says it in this video and I'm not going to watch the rest of it to find out. But does somebody approach her and be like, hey, you look like the perfect size 10. How about you measure? And, was she scouted or did she apply? Was she like, I think I'm the perfect 10 and heard about this? I have never heard of this. And that's crazy. Lots of pressure to stay the same size. That is interesting as well. So if you were to gain a few pounds, then you no longer would qualify, I assume. And to me, this kind of sounds like acting or like trying to be an extra in a role. Like it may be difficult to find a whole bunch of jobs, but maybe once you're already known, like you're in the industry, then it's easier to get more of them, more opportunities. Very cool.
Apparently nobody told you guys about the unconventional job option, so I've taken it upon myself. This is part 4 of unconventional jobs in case you hate your 9-to-5. First up, flavorist. A friend who did this for Starbucks, so her job was literally to taste things. Tour manager. I did a couple shows on a tour and I thought it was so fun. The whole thing has like a very like summer camp vibe. It's a lot of hard work, but I think it would be really fun. Along with that, being some kind of stagehand or crew member on a tour. Being a script supervisor in film and TV. Again, a lot of work, but you get to watch movies and TV shows being made. Farmers market coordinator. This one I kind of made up in my head, but like someone is organizing that event. Sober companion. I just heard about this one recently, but I feel like anyone who has a really compassionate nature would be good at that. Working at a wildlife refuge. Being a nanny is one of the best jobs that I've had, potentially in another state or country that I wanted to experience. Leading horseback riding trips. I have no knowledge of horses, but I would learn. I would explore something adjacent to a theme park, so I don't want to be like working in the theme park, but something potentially on the back end or like in the offices at a theme park where you're still around the culture of it. Working at a plant nursery, being an assistant to an artist, something where you're in the studio every day with someone who's so creative, I think would be really cool. Hopefully this series is proving to you if you don't like the 9-to-5 lifestyle, you don't have to do it.
Hopefully the music is fine playing in the background. That was very distracting to me. Apologies. I don't know how many of these, did she say part 2? Part 4? I don't know, but it sounds like she's done a number of these. And to me, the bulk of them sound like you need some sort of training, certification, education in that field. I did see somebody say like, okay, but how do we find them? So it's really just going to be like search. If you're really interested in something, you're gonna have to do some research. Be like, how do I get into this? Or see what opportunities are out there. But you would need experience in all of these, and eventually I would assume they become 9-to-5 jobs, you know?
Hey, it's Vivian. Today I start my first odd job of the summer. I'm trying to put $5,000 away into savings, and today I start doing that by pet sitting. Currently I'm packing a bag so I can go stay at their house for an entire week. I'm mainly just putting the essentials in right now because I'm going to come back to my house later. It kind of ended up being a little stupid of me to pack all that because I really have not used it yet. I've been here all day. Well, not all day, but I'll show you that later. Now I'm making my little coffee. I just used some whole milk from H-E-B. And then I'm just gonna get some of the Trader Joe's cold brew concentrate because that's way cheaper than going and buying coffee. It's seriously ridiculous how much a latte costs. And I'm trying to save money. So now I'm on my way over to their house. I look pissed as hell, but it's really just early in the morning. This is when I actually got pissed off because I got stuck in traffic at my old high school and I didn't time it right. Then I got to their house and I got to hang out with their cute dogs. This is Coco. Part of the job is making their food and feeding them every morning and taking them out and whatnot. So here I am making Coco's food. She's a little bit more high maintenance than Miss Pepper, their other dog, but it's okay. There's Coco licking my face, and then there's Pepper. They're both little sweeties.
This is really kind of just a day in her life. She must have put the hashtag unusual jobs. I wouldn't say pet sitting is that unusual, but I think it's an area that is definitely going to grow. So if you are okay with going to people's houses, oftentimes people either want you to stay at their house to watch their dog especially, or they want you to take the dog to your house. So if you have the availability and ability to do that, then something you could consider. I think that's an area that's just going to be huge. There are so many people who are not having children these days and they're just having pets. So the demand for pet sitters, I think, is going to increase. I know a great app to start with is Rover, but that one's not that unusual. So let's go to the next one.
I have a job that most people don't even know exists, and I actually enjoy it. So I'm a job coach for people with special needs, and I work with around 3 to 4 individuals each day at different job sites in the community. So today I was at a child enrichment center. So here we worked with organizing, sorting, cleaning, and helping with all the toys there. Some days we go to 2 different job sites. Today was just one. They had it decorated super cute for Christmas, which I loved. We go to all different job sites, from restaurants to nursing homes to places like this, and it provides our members with a great opportunity to experience different work environments. And on top of this, it's a great opportunity for adults with special needs to socialize because they're not in school anymore and they might not have paid employment. But yeah, it's super rewarding and I love it. So yeah, that's a little day in my life.
That is so cool. I've never heard of that. A job coach for those with special needs. I know that there are some employers out there that hire people with special needs, not exclusively, but oftentimes they do. And I love that because they do usually want to do something, like have some sort of meaning in their life, fulfillment, something to keep them busy. This is really cool because then she can help set them up to thrive at their actual job. I've definitely never heard of this, and I would assume she would need a degree or something. Somebody asked if you need a degree and what it would be, but she didn't answer. So I don't know.
Okay, I have a really, really fun part-time job, the most fun part-time job I've ever had personally, and so I thought it'd be fun to make a video about it. I'm working right now. I work for Group Therapy Bike Tours in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I pretty much just drive around groups of people for 2 hours at a time, wherever they want to go. Typically, people do themes, or it's for a birthday, bachelorette party, things like that, so it's always such a fun time. My group right now is a 22nd birthday. They're super fun, and they're at their first stop right now, so I'm just hanging out. Sometimes they'll go in for 5 minutes, other times they're in there for like 35, 40 minutes, so I can get really long breaks sometimes, which is fun. I just chill on my phone, or I go in with them, whatever I want to do. It's the winter right now, but this is a propane heater, so I'm like super warm. It's really nice. The trolleys have Bluetooth speakers so the people can connect to the aux. And then they have lights on the ceilings too, so it's super fun. Also, the plastic sides are only down in the winter or when it's cold/raining or just bad weather in general. The music's on because my group's almost back.
That is so cool. I'm gonna have to skip over.
Light up all the way in from the outside.
Music.
Here it is. They usually light up all the way under there, but they're just out right now. And this is it from the front. It's 10:50 right now, and my shift goes till 11:30, so then when that rolls around, I will just clean it up, take out the trash, wipe it down, make sure the propane is off, and then I'm good to go. Donuts! Okay, it's now 11:45, and I have my trolley in the shop with the other ones.
So cool. Absolutely something I've never heard of. She tagged Group Therapy Bike Tours, so I don't know where this is located exactly, but if you're in a city that there's tours often, or even this made me think of, when you go to like a baseball game, basketball game, whatever, and there's people who are biking, there's people who will trolley you over to the stadium, because typically we have to park far away and then walk quite a distance, and there's always the bike riders. I don't know if they are employed by the stadium themselves or if it's like a smaller business, but they kind of have this set up, just much smaller, so they're on like an electric bike, and then like 2 to 3 people can sit in the back seat, and then they have music as well that they're playing loudly, and then they just go to the stadium, come back to the parking lot, and they do that like the whole time, which, yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. At first, when she was talking with like the lights in the background, I thought she was going to say she's working at a fair, and so that made me think of that too. I know a woman who volunteers, but she gets paid to work at the county fair every year. She does it, and it's for, I think they're there for at least a weekend, maybe 2 of them, and she helps to like set up, she works it. I think she helps to hand out like the tickets and all these different things, and it's not a huge pay, but it's definitely extra income to work with, and nothing crazy. It's not like you don't have to control the rides or anything. That's by the company who sets up. I personally would never ride those rides, but yeah, just different options out there. That's what it made me think of.
I believe I got paid to do this. We play like this with my kids all the time, but I legit got paid to press my face up against my window for a glass cleaning company. And you know how much the pay is? $300 for 10 of these pictures. Just by having multiple gigs on Fiverr opens you up to so many opportunities, even odd jobs like this that pay really well and allow you to work from home. I'll look funny for $300.
Interesting. I've been paid to record myself struggling to put in my contacts, make my coffee, and pretend to smoke a carrot. Fiverr truly is a game changer. Okay, so I wonder what she... Freelance big sis, UGC on Fiverr. Okay, intriguing. That's actually a good idea. So you are kind of making the B-roll. You're part of the advertisement for these companies, because sometimes they just need a face. They don't want to use their own, or maybe if it's a really small company and there's nobody else. So that's very interesting. Somebody did comment, this is my favorite because it for sure wasn't a company. That's a really niche kink. Which it actually very well could be a legit company, but it could be a kink as well. And you're, getting paid for that and you don't even know it. But hey, as long as it's not like anything that you're not willing to have other people see, then why not? That's a good idea though. Posting on Fiverr that you're like a B-roll creator or something like that. It's like stock images that you're selling with your face or something. I don't know what, I'll have to look and see what she lists herself as.
These are some odd jobs that I've done over the last 7 years living in New York City, just to pay the bills. First up, we have a luxury caterer. All throughout college, I was a luxury caterer for some of the biggest weddings and events in the Hamptons and New Jersey. Crazy, extravagant bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, like, wow. I've also done coat check for a lot of big brand events, and I've also been like the hostess. So, what's your name? Oh, okay, great. You can go on in. I've done that a lot. I've also been a waitress at a bar, which, by the way, is the hardest job ever. I used to come home aching. So if you're rude to staff, I don't know if we get along. The next odd job was being a social media manager. This was probably the most lucrative job and most exciting, because if you get a good client, like, who flies you to events and you just have to capture content, that is like the dream. I had this one client who would fly me to like LA and Orlando, and I was like, this is so iconic. So those clients do exist, they're hard to find. Next up, we have modeling. This is what I originally moved to the city for, but modeling / hand modeling, I would say, is a good odd job if you have pretty hands, or if you have they do feet modeling too, I think. Like I say, we get creative. I've also done brand consulting for various startups, advising them on content strategies, sales, that sort of thing. I've done way more odd jobs, so let me know if you guys want a part 2. I hope that there were...
Catering and the coat check would be kind of like being the hostess would be kind of chill. And somebody asked how you get these jobs. She said, I applied in job boards, Handshake, LinkedIn, etc. I actually know like one of my... She's not related to me, but she's like in the family, lives in Massachusetts. But if I were to like have to live there or something, I would probably ask to be part of her catering team, because she runs a catering business and she always has people like serving the food, setting up the food, and it's kind of nice. They dress nicely. It's just for a few hours for the event, and I don't know what they get paid, but yeah, if you can find those smaller caterers, it depends on where you live too. Some of these she obviously has experience and education in, like social media manager. You've got to have, like, nobody's going to hire you if you've never done that before unless they're like brand new. Same with modeling. Like, if you've got to start somewhere, you know. And yeah, like she said, if you have nice hands or nice feet or nice face, nice body, whatever it is that the people are looking for, could be anything. So cool. Let's watch a couple more.
I haven't given you guys a new side hustle in a while, so let me tell you, this is one you don't have to leave your house for. You can be lazy. You can even be that guy who's always like, dude, and you get paid up to $120 for each one of these that you do. And by the way, I don't benefit from any of this. I just hope that you have a better life just because you found me. And I hope that somehow in the future you say, you know, that guy helped me. I don't even know who he is. You know, it makes me feel good. I live for the applause. And this is something called Tester Up. T-E-S-T, test, E-R, Tester Up, U-P. And it's a website that you go to, you sign up, and you test games. In other words, you sign up, you give them your information, and then they send you games, you test it, you write a review or you do a report, push the buttons online, whatever it is, and you get paid. Yes, for real. It's a scam. Well,
these are legit. I think I've heard of Tester Up. This was posted last year, so I think this is legit. There sounds very similar to a website called User Testing. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure User Testing is how I found out about that like wearable device that can see your hand movement. I think it was through User Testing, but User Testing used to be where people would request a review of their blog. Like, I had paid one time for somebody to review my blog. And you just go to the website that you're supposed to be testing and you click around, you give feedback, you talk out loud. So you're recording yourself, at least your voice, and screen recording, so that you can give exact feedback or like answer the questions about, you know, it could be general questions like, oh, how do you find the interface, or what is your eye attracted to, that type of thing. I also did some testing for apps where you had to download the app and then answer questions out loud, screen record. I don't know if User Testing is still around, but that was another way that I made some extra income over like a while ago. And then this sounds pretty similar. These are slow though, like especially these days. Like, I don't know if they're very lucrative. It's kind of something where it's like, if you have a lot of downtime and you're cool with playing games or doing surveys, and you're just, or even if you could like hand it over, if you have children, hand it over to your kids to play some games. I recently, on the Fetch app, which I'll put my code up somewhere, if y'all are interested in making a little extra income that way, you redeem the points that you earn for gift cards, but I always redeem them for Amazon. You can buy whatever you need really there, or I'll buy books like guilt-free. But recently on Fetch, it had popped up that you can get like extra points for downloading a game and getting to a certain level. And I did that with 3 games because it took me like not even an hour and I was doing nothing. And I was like, oh, let me just do this. And I ended up getting, I think it was over 20,000 points for everything. And so I was able to get another gift card, and that was in an hour of my time, and I was just going to be sitting there anyway. So there's sometimes where they run like little specials, not just in Fetch, but other things, and it can be at least a little bit of extra income if you wanted to like spend, you know, 25, 50 bucks and not feel bad about it. Okay, let me try to find one more, and then that'll be it. Okay, I've got to mute this one because it's playing an actual song. I'm getting paid $30 an hour to put kids' activities together. To have a job effortless as this, I mean, I want a paycheck, not a participation trophy. That's what the caption says. It doesn't give any info on this, so I don't think this is even her page. Yeah, there's no information about it, so who knows. Now, this could be a Craigslist listing. There was one time I applied for a Craigslist ad. This guy was looking for somebody to label his containers. Like, you know, one side is sticky, label whatever he was selling. I can't even remember. He did follow up with me, but then it ended up never happening. So, because he was offering, I think like, I don't remember. I think it was hourly, maybe like $30 for a couple of hours of, $30 per hour for a couple of hours, but it didn't end up working out. This was again a time where I was like, I need to make some extra money, and yeah. So there's sometimes where you have to be careful of what you sign up for, but this might be a Craigslist ad, or this very well could just be a scam and she's just literally volunteering. I don't know, because this page is jobs flag. I don't think it's her. But there are definitely odd jobs out there, some unusual things out there that people can, either that's their full-time job or you're just doing it to make some extra income. So if that is you, if you have an odd job to share, please comment down below. We would all love to hear it. If you have any connections or suggestions for getting into those odd jobs, even better, so that people can make extra income. And again, a reminder, be careful. Be safe with what you're signing up for. If it's in-person things, if it's any sort of medical research studies, just be careful and know what you're signing up for. Your life is more important than earning income. So desperate times sometimes do call for desperate measures, but I don't want anybody to put themselves in a dangerous situation. Thanks again to whoever suggested this topic, and thank you again to Michaela for sending over that first video. And everybody that was in this, I will link in the description box, and I'll see you in my next one.